Man, did the Houston Rockets go cold once again last night. They went 0 for 13 from 3 in the fourth quarter, and the Jazz forced a Game 5 Wednesday night back in Houston. James Harden finished the game with 30 points, but was held to 5 points in the fourth quarter and took only 3 shots in the final 12 minutes. I'm going to start with you, Max, if you're ready here.
Yep.
Do you think the Jazz did anything here to expose James Harden?
No, first of all, Harden shot okay. It's not really but secondly, let's say the idea is that Harden didn't shoot okay. The Jazz exposed this? No, this is the entire issue with James Harden. He doesn't hit shots in the playoffs when you need him to most. Now, it's not going to be an issue in this series. They're up 3-1. The series is over. They're going to close them out. But they're about to face Golden State. And I have to believe, especially after Klay Thompson's comments, we're getting ready for them, that, yes, the Rockets may have been looking past the Jazz. You can see that also on hustle-type plays they weren't making. They kind of mailed the whole game in. But I wonder how much of even just the knowledge that Golden State is coming up next affects Harden. Stephen A., we have seen this time and again. James Harden has replaced Peyton Manning in American sports culture as the choker. And by that I mean he can still play very well in the playoffs by normal standards. But Peyton Manning, regular season, I think clearly the best ever. Playoffs, different guy. And that has been James Harden's history when the going gets tough in the playoffs. They didn't expose him, didn't shoot that poorly, but even had he, that would be nothing new.
Well, what I would ask for you to do is don't change the narrative when it comes to James Harden. You said that he misses shots, and you used the word choke. You didn't say anything about him taking them. He only took 3 shots last night in the fourth quarter. What happened? You got Ricky Rubio and everybody else. Quinn Snyder's got them playing his left hand. You had other guys like an Eric Gordon hitting some shots, like a CP3 hitting some shots. So when you look at it from that perspective, you're taking away his left hand. You're going to talk about the Jazz exposing something about James Harden? I would say yes to this degree. You play his left hand, and you see what he does with it. You force him right, because if you force him right, he's going to have to go to the hole as opposed to launching a perimeter shot or a three-point shot, or he's going to have to give up the ball to somebody else. And those are the 2 ingredients to success against the Houston Rockets. You either want somebody else shooting, or you want to take James Harden and anybody else that you can find and make them into 2-point shooters, because you know it's not what Mike D'Antoni wants to do. Although a team like Milwaukee is launching more 3-pointers than anybody, we know that Houston is up there. They want to launch threes. Mike D'Antoni wants them to launch threes. If you are on the court for Mike D'Antoni and you don't launch them, he will bench you, because that's how important that kind of philosophy is to him. So when you look at it from that perspective and you see what Utah did against James Harden, it's not something that James Harden can't overcome. It's not something that he can't figure out. But let's give credit where credit is due. Utah exposed it from the standpoint because they weren't just taking away his left hand just to make sure he missed shots. They wanted him to give the ball to somebody else or to go into the lane and attempt twos as a point to threes. And that's what plays into the hands of opponents going up against Houston. And by the way, opponents that will be able to score a hell of a lot better than Utah.
But opponents try this in the regular season, and it doesn't work. So here are the things that change in the postseason. No second of back-to-backs. You're always going to have rest between games. But also, teams can better prepare for what you do. And you're facing other smart players too, presumably. So, like, your kind of Euro-stepping off-rhythm stuff may not work as well, like a junk ball pitcher in baseball. You don't have the hard heat, doesn't play in the postseason as well. And since they have time to prepare, it's going to be a little tougher. Now, when the going gets tough like that, who stays the same? Who elevates? Harden does not stay the same. His effectiveness decreases. He certainly doesn't elevate. And that's been a consistent pattern through his career. You and I are both on the record, Stephen A., as saying we saw signs of encouragement last year's playoffs. Even when the shots weren't falling, he was getting good looks for him and his teammates, and he was playing defense, even when the going was getting rough on offense. But still, in the regular season, he's the best player in the NBA. Year in and year out, there's Harden and someone else. But Harden's the guy who's always there. Is it Harden or LeBron? Is it Harden or Westbrook? Is it Harden or Antetokounmpo, right? Is it Harden or Durant? Is it Harden or Steph? Harden's the guy the last 3 years whose name is always there. Now it's the playoffs. He must stay the best player in basketball in
well, that's
the
fine.
playoffs.
Just stop acting. That's fine. Just stop acting like the same strategies are deployed in the postseason that exist in the regular season. That's not true. There's plenty of times that adjustments are made, that you defend people differently in the postseason when you're preparing in the best 4 of 7, as opposed to going against them on a particular night in one of 82 games. You're trying to figure out your personnel. You're trying to figure out who you can rely upon. There are individual challenges that are embraced by coaches and by teams during the regular season because not as much is at stake. There are plenty of instances where you see things in the postseason that you never see in the regular season. When you watch people go against James Harden, the way Utah has tried to defend him in this series, you didn't see a lot of that in the regular season against James Harden because it's not prioritized in the regular season the way that it is in the postseason. So let's just be clear about that.
Look, it's about adjustments, Stephen A. They can change their strategy to defend you. How'd that work against Michael Jordan? He just obliterated you. How did that work against the greats? James Harden's regular season, last several years, is about as good as any we've ever seen. Stay that dude I'm not even asking him get better in the playoffs, which Jordan and guys like that have done. Stay the same guy in the playoffs. Stephen A., we saw Bud Crawford fight over the weekend, right? He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest puncher. But as the other guy adjusts to him, he adjusts to them. A 12-round title fight against a top fighter is not the same as a 6-rounder when you're younger, right? But in 12-round title fights against the top fighters, all the adjustments that are made, Crawford's even better. Be that dude, James Harden. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because if he's that dude, they can beat the Warriors. In fact, if he's that dude, I'm going to say they're going to beat the Warriors.